Hi, I'm Candace Beakey, President and Publisher of the Portland Business Journal. Welcome to our Secrets of the Fastest Growing Companies series. I'm here today with Heather Leachman Beck, Director of Workplace Innovation at Hyphn. Welcome, Heather, and congratulations on joining the 2020 Fastest Growing Private Companies list.
Thank you, Candace. I'm excited to be here.
Let's start by tell us a little bit about Hyphn. What are y'all doing there?
Hyphen. Yeah, well, what is hyphen? Hyphen connects two things. So really we think of ourselves as a connector in our community. Um, and really just about whatever it is in terms of what do people that work in a workplace need. So a workplace solutions organization. And it's interesting in that, Matt and Chaston purchased our organization in early 2017, and it was one thing then, and it's really evolved into a brand new experience right now. And obviously connecting all those ideas together and formulating what that looks like has evolved over time. But I think really just to net it out, a workplace solutions organization, whatever people need to thrive is what we're working to attain at Hyphen.
I bet that has been especially interesting during the pandemic and the changes that a lot of companies have seen. Let's go back a little bit though and tell us how you've managed to grow so quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, from a perspective of, a lot of the research and work I do is around people. So knowing that from the outside and watching other organizations do that and providing tools and research to help others through that process and then experience it internally at the place that I work is a really wild ride. And I've been with Hyphen for roughly a year and a half, and the amount of growth that's happened in that year and a half has been pretty exponential. And I think a lot of that comes down to what we preach is what we practice. So the daily interactions, the way that our people connect is really in line with what we're doing in the community. So it's an organization that feels like a family, as cheesy as that sounds. And I think the interpersonal connections we have within the Hyphen team is what's helped create that growth. Um, Obviously, in addition to a tremendous amount of transparency in the leadership team and being able to share that growth with the entire employee population and everybody having a part in what that looks like and an autonomy of the part they play in that growth. I would have to say in this period of time, with it being a pandemic, seeing that the level of safety that we have internally of people feeling, trusting each other and feeling safe to be able to say what they're going through, and then the amount of internal support to guide everybody through that. This wouldn't work externally with our customers if we didn't have the support internally with our culture. I think we went through a process of redoing our space that was supposed to roll out in April, and it's really, really pretty. But it's that, there's a quote that I think of quite often of space is the body language of an organization. As we're in this moment of time where the workplace doesn't have walls. So if we don't have our body language, what do we have left? And our culture is really who we are. And I've been thinking about this, we don't have our body language, but we have our heart and our soul still. So all of that, foundation was already built before this period of time where we really rely on each other and we need each other. And we know that to be able to build, you can't do it on your own. So there's a lot of interdependencies that exist to make the magic happen.
Do you have any advice for all of us as leaders, or many of us, are struggling with how to maintain our culture? A lot of us had gatherings that we would do throughout the week, and they may not translate as well over Zoom. Do you have any advice for how to maintain culture in this remote work environment?
Yeah, I think it's defining what your culture is, being very clear that it aligns with who you are as an organization. So at Hyphen, we did a survey on our culture last year and sort of saw where the gaps were. And we're like, okay, how do we need to shore up and do work around that? One of those was reevaluating what our core values were. So we had this plan for rolling out our core values in this time that were very in-person celebrations, and we've transitioned that into this world. But it has still connected because it's something that was important to us. It's something we built together, and being able to, like, I'll just give you an example of um, we do something called a nailed it card. So when somebody does something great, they send in. Before, it was a paper card that you'd write out that how did that connect to a core value that somebody did. Hand them a paper card, and now it's a virtual experience. So when you do something great, somebody sends you a virtual nailed it card, and like that feels so great, right? And every month we have what core value are we working on that month, and then there's a celebration at the end of the month, and it all leads to some sort of whatever the winning team is gets to send an executive into a dunk tank or choose some other people to do a music video or this next month we're all volunteering together as an executive team to do feed the masses. So it connects back to our core values, but I think it's just you need to evaluate who you are and make it sure that it feels authentic. It doesn't work if it's not authentic. We went through a period of the beginning of all of the happy hours and then realizing like we're on Zoom or on Google Meet like 8 hours a day. How much more do people really want to be in a meeting? But it was turning it into like a conversational happy hour to now we do happy hour bingo or happy hour trivia where people are playing a game and feel like engaging, and it's connecting it back to our culture. So last week we played bingo, and it was every box was like a funny thing that somebody says internally or like a picture of something funny that happened in the last year. But I think it's really evaluating who you are as a company. How do you want to represent yourself? How do you want to connect and bring people together in this time? And having it be authentic. It's not going to work if it's not authentic. So I think that like we established it, and we've continued to evolve. Don't like think that you're one and done and you figured it out. Like, oh, we're going into the winter right now where things are going to get, pretty tricky for us in Portland, and trying to figure out how do we take it from being a funny thing and an interesting thing to like, how do we maintain connections through a time where people are going to feel a little lonely and need support? And how do we create, smaller ecosystems to bring people together and create that support to be able to get through this period of time? So I think it's evolving to what your employees need in a given time, and making sure it's authentically connected to who you are as an organization at a fundamental base level.
That's great. That's really helpful. Okay, last question is one of the first things to pop up on your website is people, place, technology. Can you tell us how that defines Hyphn?
That is Hyphn. Yeah, it's really in terms of being a workplace solution organization. Those are the three puzzle pieces that need to come together to make a holistic workplace. So, in the last couple of years, when Matt and Justin started Hyphn and really started the idea of Hyphn, we were considered a furniture dealership. And it was like, we want to evolve into something bigger that does more for our community and more for the people the organizations that we're working with. And it was seeing that space matters. It's incredibly important. It's the body language of an organization. But what are the other things that need to come together to be able to make that space do what it needs to do? And really, taking a step back and seeing the importance of the workforce within the workplace and how the people need to be supported to really make sure that the outcomes that are required at the end, if you don't have the engagement, you're not going to get there. So us seeing connecting with what does this change mean to an organization and how can we help make that successful, and making that as broad as possible, right? Like what are the tools or resources that we can provide as an organization to make this an excellent experience for our customers? And it really comes down to those three pillars are what's necessary to make an exceptional experience. And that's what we're driving towards. So we recently started a technology arm. The big rollout was supposed to be in April of this year. There's a pandemic, but that's been an incredibly successful part of us. And it's an equal part, it's the three pieces coming together. And I think just in terms of what people need in this point in time, you and I are talking virtually, right? If this wasn't going on, we wouldn't be talking virtually, but seeing obviously the process of us starting a technology arm started long ago, and realizing that this is what people needed to be able to connect and collaborate and to build as an organization. So it's really us looking into the future of what people need to be able to connect and collaborate and to be an exceptional organization and what type of support that looks like always falls into those three pillars. And it was just sort of being like, okay, that's where we're at. And how do we make all three of those come together to be able to really just guide our customers from beginning to end?
Well, congratulations to you and the whole team at Hyphen. And I look forward to seeing you back on the list next year and to celebrating with you this year. Thanks,
Thank you,
Heather.
Candace.